So, hi everybody, it's Emma here. We're on Friday night. It's a webinar on an extraordinary relationship. So, I think we'll get started. So, my name's Emma. I'm from Stellar Coaching. I'm actually one half of Stellar Coaching. It's a joint venture between myself and Judith Dowsett. So, I personally have a number of businesses, number of hats. Simple Fitness, Simple Coaching, Simply Super Kids, and Mum's the Boss Network. And Judith is the proud owner of Inspired Natural Therapies. And we've both joined forces for Stellar Coaching. And we're going to be doing things like workshops and events and lots of freebies coming on. So please register your details on our website on stellarcoaching.com.au. This is simply a taster. So this is something that we will go into in a great deal more depth in our relationships workshops, and we've actually got one next week on Wednesday. So if you go and have a look at the website, you can register yourself there. We will be doing them in various locations, so I'm sure you'll see us. And if you register your details on the website, we do have a weekly newsletter that goes out and a video blog. So we do have different subjects every week. So you get to see our pretty faces every week. And yeah, lots of things happening for 2013 for us and for yourselves as well, I'm sure. So we'll get on to today's topic, which is getting an extraordinary relationship. So first of all, what is a relationship? What are they for? So you could come up with different answers, like it's for companionship, it's for support. There are so many answers to this, but the actual answer to what is an ultimate relationship is to actually magnify the human experience. I'll give you an example. So say, for example, you're looking at a beautiful view at the top of a mountain on your own, and the view is amazing, and you think, oh, wow, that is so cool. It's okay looking at the view on your own, but imagine there's somebody next to you. Is that experience not magnified because someone's there? So it's the same with relationships. They are to magnify our lives, to further enrich our experiences throughout life. And this is the same for all types of relationships, and I'm including parents, friends, and siblings. We all have some type of relationship which can fit our core needs. Now, I won't go too much detail in our core needs, but I will touch briefly on them because I have covered it in another video, and you can check that out on our website. But basically, as humans, we have 6 core needs. Now, our core needs, I've put them on the screen there for you. The first one is our need for certainty. So that's our need for safety, security, comfort, and consistency. So it's something that, just as an example, you could even feel that you need to be certain there is enough petrol in the car to get you to your destination. I often do the housework, so I am certain that I can do it and accomplish it, and then I'm certain that I have a clean house. So we all have a degree of certainty as our core needs within us. But onto the other ones, some of us have one of the needs higher than the others. So that'll make sense when I keep talking. So with variety, which is our second core need, it's our need for surprise, variety, and engaging the unknown. So whilst we have certainty and we want to know that we're certain about things, it would get a little bit boring. So we need variety for that bit of change. Now onto significance, which is our need to feel important, needed, wanted, and worthy of love. So we want to feel unique and important and valued, and that's quite common in relationships to want to feel that significance if we are loved. Number 4 is love and connection. That's our need for feeling connected with and loved by other human beings. So I am loved and I belong, and that can go back also in relation to caveman times when we were part of the huddle and we wanted to be loved and kept safe. And that's often why we join sports, and we want to wear the same team colours and things like that. So, yep, love and connection could be higher on someone else's core needs than another person. But I'll go on. So the next one is growth, which is our need for growth and learning, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Now, for myself, growth and learning is massive on my list, but it may not be for somebody else. But without growing, how is, how is our life? How is it our life? We need to grow. I I couldn't stand not growing and learning every day, but that's me. And then our last core need is contribution, which is giving beyond ourselves and giving to others and sharing things. We like to share things, and we're going to go on to that in a bit more detail with our extraordinary relationship topic. So, as I said, those are our 6 core needs. That is taken from Tony Robbins. So, if you wish to Google that a bit more, he has a wealth of information and goes into those core needs in far more detail than I just did then, and than I ever will, because he's just absolutely awesome. So yeah, there are core needs. So now we know why relationships are important and they're to magnify our lives. We know that the relationships are to meet one of our 6 core needs. But the question is, how do we get an extraordinary relationship? Now, to start off, a lot of this can relate to relationships, but tonight we're actually going to be focusing on intimate relationships. It can be used for our children and our relatives, but we'll just be focusing on intimate relationships tonight because this is pretty much a taster for our workshops coming up. So it's a shortened version of our workshop that we run on. We're actually running one next Wednesday, as I've said. And we're also going to be running them in various locations. So if you want to attend, as I said, pop your details on our website and we'll let you know when and where they are held. But they've also got a practical element to them, so you can work on your own relationships within the workshop as well if you feel like you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. But look, there's a great book that I've used for reference tonight. It's The 5 Love Languages, written by Dr. Gary Chapman. He's amazing. I love this book. This book is one I'm going to be keeping forever. But basically, what he's talking about is the desire for romantic love in marriage is deeply rooted in our psychological makeup. There are stacks of books out there on this subject, and TV and radio deals with it all the time. The internet is full of advice. So are our parents and friends, actually. So things like this are they're talked about quite a lot. In keeping love alive in our marriages is serious business. So with all this help, why is it that so few couples seem to have found the secret to keeping love alive after the wedding? Why is it that we see an expert on Oprah share 101 ways to express love to your spouse? We select 2 or 3 ways that seem especially good to us. We try them, and our spouse doesn't even acknowledge our offer. We give up on the other 98 ways and we go back to living life as usual. The truth we are missing, and I've put that on there for you to see, is that we speak different love languages. We have overlooked this. People speak different love languages. Now, Dr. Gary Chapman states there are 5 emotional love languages. And of course, as with other languages, there are different dialects within those languages. The important thing is to speak the love language of your spouse. Seldom does a husband and wife have the same primary emotional love language. We tend to speak our primary love language and we become confused when our spouse does not understand what we are communicating. We are expressing our love, but the message doesn't come through. It's because we're speaking what to them is actually a foreign language. So here lies the fundamental problem. We can talk about this solution today, and we're going to discover the 5 basic love languages and understand our own love language as well as the primary love language of our spouse. So we've got a lot to cover today. Plus, then we're going to have the extra information to apply these ideas that we're going to talk about today. So look, once you've identified and learnt your spouse's primary love language, I believe you'll discover the key to a long-lasting, loving marriage, and the love need not evaporate after the wedding. But in order to keep it alive, most of us will have to put forth the effort to learn a secondary love language. Now, I'm probably talking another language to you right now, but stay with me. We can't rely on our native tongue if our spouse doesn't understand it. If we want them to feel the love we're trying to communicate, we must express it in his or her primary love language. So let's get on with it. Love language number 1 is words of affirmation. Actions don't always speak louder than words. If this is your love language, Unsolicited compliments mean the world to you. Hearing the words, I love you, are important. Hearing the reasons behind that love sends your spirit skyward. Insults can leave you shattered and are not easily forgotten. Verbal compliments or words of appreciation are powerful communicators of love if this is your love language. They are best expressed in simple, straightforward statements of affirmations. I'll give you a few examples. You look great in that suit. Wow, you look hot in that dress. I love how you're so responsible and I can count on you. I really like how you're always on time to pick me up from work. So there's some verbal compliments you can use. But look, within this love language, there are many dialects. There are humble words, kind words, encouraging words, and giving indirect words of affirmation. For example, saying something positive about your spouse when he or she is not present. Eventually, someone will tell them, and you'll end up getting full credit for love. Tell your wife's mother how great your wife is. When her mother tells you what you've said, it'll be amplified, and you'll get even more credit for it. Another idea is to also write these words of affirmation because these have the benefit of being read over and over again. So on to love language number 2, quality time. In the vernacular of quality time, nothing says I love you like full undivided attention. Being there for this type of person is critical, but really being there with the TV off, chores and tasks on standby, makes your significant other feel truly special and loved. This means giving someone your undivided attention. This doesn't mean sitting on the lounge watching TV together. It means things like taking a walk, just the two of you, going out to eat and looking at each other whilst talking. Look, time is a strong communicator of love. The love language of quality time has many dialects. One of the most common is that of quality conversation, two individuals sharing their thoughts and their feelings. A relationship calls for sympathetic listening with a view to understanding the other person's desires. We must be willing to give advice, but only when it's requested and never in a condescending manner. So here are some listening tips for you guys if your partner's love language is quality time. Maintain eye contact. Don't do something else at the same time. I know we can get waylaid with the internet or text messages and things like that, but focus on that person. Listen to their feelings and confirm them. Observe their body language at the same time. And refuse to interrupt. Quite important, that one. All right, love language number 3 is gift giving. Now, don't mistake this love language for materialism. The receiver of gifts thrives on the love, thoughtfulness, and effort behind the gift. If you speak this love language, the perfect gift or gesture shows that you are known, you are cared for, and you are significant. A missed birthday, anniversary, or a hasty, thoughtless gift could be disastrous. So would the absence of everyday gestures. A gift is something you can hold in your hand and say, look, he was thinking of me, or she remembered me. A gift is a symbol of that thought. And look, gifts come in all shapes and sizes, colours and forms. Some are expensive and some are free. To the individual whose primary love language is receiving gifts, the cost will not matter. Think of a time when somebody's given you something. I can certainly think of a time when my daughter has given me a flower from the garden as a child, and she still does it. And the thought that she has given that to me means to me that she has thought about me and wants to make me happy. So yeah, gift giving, that's actually my one, so that's probably why I'm sighing nicely. All right, love language number 4, which is acts of service. So can vacuuming the floors really be an expression of love? Absolutely. Anything you do to ease the burden of responsibilities weighing on an acts of service person will actually speak volumes. The words he or she most want to hear are, let me do that for you. Laziness, broken commitments, and making more work for them tells them this language of their feelings don't matter. So people who speak this love language seek to please their partners by serving them. to express their love for them by doing things for them. Actions such as cooking a meal, setting a table, washing the dishes, sorting out the bills, or walking the dog are all acts of service. They require thought, planning, time, and energy. Now, if they're done in a positive spirit, they're indeed expressions of love. So I'm not saying you become a doormat to your partner and do these things out of guilt and resentment. No one should ever be a doormat, but do these things as a lover. Love language number 5 is physical touch. This language isn't all about the bedroom. A person whose primary love language is physical touch is not always, surprisingly, very touchy. Hugs, pats on the back, holding hands, and a thoughtful touch on the arm, shoulder, or face can all be ways of showing excitement, concern, care, and love. Physical presence and accessibility are crucial here, whilst neglect or abuse can be unforgivable and destructive. As I've said, holding hands, kissing, hugging, and sex, all of these are lifelines for the person who has physical touch as their primary love language, and they feel secure in their partner's love. Love touches don't take much time, but they do require a little bit of thought, especially if this isn't your primary love language or you didn't grow up being in a touchy kind of family. Sitting close to each other as you watch TV requires additional time, but communicates your love loudly. Touching each other when you leave the house or when you return may involve a brief kiss, but that speaks volumes. So I've briefly gone over the 5 love languages. If you didn't write them down, more than happy to send you the recording on this. But more importantly, we need to discover what our primary love language is. So discovering your primary love language, you've got to ask yourself a few questions. So what makes you feel most loved by your spouse? What do you desire above all else? If the answer doesn't leap into your mind immediately, perhaps it'll take to look at the negative use of love languages. So what does your spouse do or say to, oh, I can't talk. What does your spouse do or say or fail to do or say that hurts you deeply? For example, if your deepest pain is the critical judgmental words of your spouse, then perhaps your love language is words of affirmation. If your love language is used negatively by your spouse, that is, they do the opposite, it will hurt you more deeply than it would hurt someone else, because not only have they neglected to speak your love language, they're actually using that language as a knife to your heart. I'll give you a few more examples. A husband who doesn't help around the house gives a clue to the wife's language. If it grieves you deeply that your spouse seldom gives you a gift for any occasion, then perhaps your primary love language is receiving gifts. If your deepest hurt is that your spouse seldom gives you quality time, then perhaps your primary love language is quality time. Another approach to working out your love language is to look back at your marriage or relationship and ask, what have I most often requested of them? So whatever you've most requested is probably in keeping with your primary love language. Those requests have probably been interrupted by your spouse's nagging, but they've been in fact your efforts to secure emotional love from your spouse. So I'll recap on trying to work out what your primary love language is. So there's 3 ways, in fact, that you can do to discover that. So number 1 is, what does your spouse do or fail to do that hurts you deeply? The opposite of what hurts you is probably your love language. Number 2, what have you often requested of your spouse? The thing you've most often requested is likely to be the thing that would make you feel most loved. And 3, look, in what way do you regularly express your love to your spouse? Your method of expressing love may be an indication that they would also make you feel loved. Look, it can be the case that you can't work out what your love language is because you can't remember what makes you feel loved. If this is the case, go back to the experience of falling in love and ask yourself, what did I like about my spouse in those days? What did he do or say that made me desire to be with him? If you can conjure up those memories, it'll give you some ideas of what your primary love language is. Now, it may also be the case that you can't work out your love language because you're already receiving a lot of love from your partner or spouse. So that's a good thing, but it's sometimes hard to work out what your love language is if I suppose what's called your love tank is full or your love tank is low because you can't remember what that feels like. So, look, I can all hear you thinking, "Wow, this is a lot to think about," and it certainly is. And we, as I said, we will cover it more in the workshop on Wednesday and in our relationships workshops. And as I said, they will be a lot more practical. So you will be able to work through a workbook to work out your love language and your partner's love language, so you can both use them together. But look, it's certainly food for thought. And I've touched very briefly, and I've perhaps rushed through a little bit on them, but it really was to give you guys a taster for what we've got coming up. And if you don't want to come, or you're not able to make it to our workshops, I do suggest you buy the book, The 5 Love Languages, by Dr. Gary Chapman. Fantastic book. It's also really easy for men to read. In fact, I believe it was written for men. And there's a special section at the back just for men to read. And look, you could certainly read it over a weekend, and then give it to your partner to read. If you're serious about making your marriage work and having a long-lasting, loving marriage or partnership, it certainly helps to put the effort in, doesn't it? So, look, this is simply the tip of the iceberg on things that we're going to be discussing in our workshops and over the next year or so in the realm of relationships. And we'll also be covering not only intimate relationships, we've actually got, we do have in March, we've got relationships and hot sex coming up. So that one's pretty cool. We're pretty excited about that one. But yeah, look, let's start off on the right foot. So guys, this will be available for listening. And if you want a copy, flick me an email and I'll mail it to you over the next day or so. But as I said, please come along to the workshops and you'll learn a little bit more. And yeah, we're quite excited. So thanks for joining me tonight. It was a short one simply because I just wanted to get across briefly what we're talking about over the next few months. So thanks again. Go to our website, have a look, register. This will be on the website over the next week or so. If you want to share it with your friends or have another listen, put it on your iPhone before you go to bed, have a little listen. You can hear my dulcet tones before you go to sleep. So thanks for that. My name's Emma, and I'll catch you guys later. Thank you.